Hey everybody, have you considered starting a podcast? We here at Screwball highly recommend Podbean for getting your podcast out to a larger audience. Podbean has given us the ability to easily bring you Screwball each and every week on all of your favorite podcast services. Use the link podbean.com/screwball to sign up and save up to 35% annually. You can also use the link podbean.com/pro/screwball to sign up for a business subscription. Happy podcasting. Hey everybody, welcome back to Screwball, a baseball podcast, your home for everything baseball. I'm your host Mike Lepre here with my co-host Frank White.
Hey, how's it going?
This is episode 73 of Screwball, following up on the trade deadline. So we obviously have a big time news section of the show, which is actually going to also be our topic of conversation, is just the trade deadline. We're going to go over each trade. I have 30 of them here that I went over on the MLB Transactions website and tried to get each one to the best of my ability. There might be some smaller ones that may not be official yet on the website due to physicals or the stuff like that, but I think we captured all the major trades, all the major factors going in. So what we're going to do is, the way I have things listed is date by date from the last time we recorded any big trades starting from the 27th, and we'll just go piece by piece and just talk about each trade, whether it's a big trade or whether it's just a kind of, something you can just gloss over. So I'm going to get into the first trade here. On the only trade made on the 27th was the Mariners trade right-handed pitcher Kendall Graveman and right-handed pitcher Rafael Montero to the Astros for right-handed pitcher Joe Smith and infielder Abraham Toro. So this kind of, I wouldn't say this kicked off the trade deadline because there were trades before that, but this kind of was one of the first few when things started to really pop off. The initial reaction to this was strange. The Mariners are kind of in the hunt somewhat for a wild card, and they trade away their closer. I just didn't understand the thought process here. Obviously, they made a deal later that kind of almost reversed it, and they got a closer. But at the time when this happened, I didn't understand it. I still kind of don't understand it, but I mean, it's weird.
Yeah, it was signaling that the Mariners are in it. They won a couple of games. They're actually playing the Astros. They came back from a deficit. The team was flying high, and they traded their closer away. It's a tough deal if you're a Mariners fan or a Mariners player for sure, because that changed the whole outlook on the team. As you've seen players say, that just shows you the franchise doesn't want to win. But really, it's not a bad idea, because what's Kendall Graveman, I think, was on his last year, a one-year deal, or not under control for much.
Right.
Having the best year he's ever going to have. Trade him high, get some value for him, and then you end up getting, later on, they end up getting a pitcher who they're going to have control on until 2024.
Yeah.
So the idea was cash in high on a team that, look, if we make the playoffs by any stretch, somehow, you're not going to do nothing.
Right.
So let's cash in when we can, instead of having some sort of silver line and thinking we're going to win the World Series over a team like the Dodgers or, those teams.
Yeah.
So it's not a bad idea to cash in high and then, do what you got to do. Because they are still going for the future. They want to win now, but they also understand where they're at.
Right. And like you said, the corresponding move, or not necessarily the corresponding move, but the move they make later in the week that we'll get to makes more sense. Like you said, you have a guy with more control. So Astros get a good bullpen guy. They get rid of Joe Smith, but you definitely get an upgrade in Kendall Graveman, and Abraham Toro was definitely expendable. So, Astros made out good there for a team that's either going to win the division or you would think probably push for a wild card. So that's the only trade that happened on the 27th. The 28th had quite a bit more that, there were some here that were pretty substantial. So the first one that I have marked down here is the Diamondbacks trade, trading infielder Eduardo Escobar to the Brewers for outfielder Cooper Hummel and second baseman Alberto Kiprian, if that's how you say his name. This is a good trade for the Brewers, who are really going for it. The Diamondbacks are really nowhere this season. They're even more nowhere than we thought they'd be. So getting rid of Eduardo Escobar for something was the smart move. I don't know how much control the Brewers have of him now. I don't know if he's going to be a free agent. So I think this is a good trade for the Brewers, having a good versatile guy that can really play just about. I'm pretty sure he can play just about everywhere. He at least plays one of the outfield positions, if I'm not mistaken. So
yeah, it's a good trade for the Brewers. They need somebody, it wasn't quite. Also, having playing first base wasn't quite the position they really needed, but a guy who's versatile, switch hitter. It's got good pop, hits for a relatively good average, and like I said, you can put him pretty much anywhere. So it's definitely not a bad move for the Brewers. And the Diamondbacks, obviously, why keep them? You're not going anywhere, so you might as well trade off and get what you can out of them. So, it is what it is. So that's just good good trade for the Brewers, and just the trade that kind of, it is what it is for the Diamondbacks.
Yeah, exactly. I thought it kind of works out for both of them. The Diamondbacks had to do what they had to do there. Then the next trade is the Marlins trading away outfielder Starling Marte to the A's for left-handed pitcher Jesus Luzardo. Jesus Luzardo, obviously high potential for the A's. Hasn't necessarily worked out as far as I know. Hasn't really worked out to this point. Starling Marte, a very proven outfielder. So giving the A's some definitely, you've got some defense out there in the outfield now with him and Ramon Laureano. He added a really good bat there, and the A's, maybe seeing the writing on the wall with Jesus Luzardo, or they make smart moves. So they've made moves like this in the past where some guys don't work out. So I think it's a good trade for the Marlins. You get a young guy, got a lot of potential still, and the A's get a guy that can help them with a playoff push. So I think it works for both.
Yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of the idea of getting rid of Jesus Luzardo for a guy like Marte. This is his last year under contract.
Mm-hmm.
But Marte is going to be great for the A's.
Yeah.
He's a great player. He does a little bit of everything. There's a possibility maybe he does sign back with the A's. That would make this trade a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
But to give Jesus Luzardo, a guy who was a top prospect, pitching prospect, hasn't really pitched all that much in the majors, but the little bit he hasn't been all that great. And maybe this is something because it kind of looked like maybe he was a guy that might end up being more of a bullpen guy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because they think maybe he can't really adjust for starting rotation or beat along or have that third pitch. And if that's the case, obviously it makes it a little easier too. But that's how far the A's go to really determine that. But it's a good trade. Marte is going to be good for them. I was a little surprised they got rid of Jesus Luzardo, but it is what it is. It's what you have to do to try winning.
Right.
So, and if they keep Marte, then obviously it changes too. But Marte's already come over, and I think he stole 3 bases in one game for them already.
Yeah, there you go.
So, he's going to be great for them. And outfield has been a little bit of a weak spot for them. Liriano, Kana, and then the third spot's kind of been relatively open.
Mm-hmm.
So, and especially with Liriano and Kana being hurt a little bit. So, they definitely need a little bit of outfield help. So, it's a good move. Jesus Luzardo is a great piece. So, the Marlins got, they have 7 high prospect or former high prospect pitchers that are all 26 or younger.
Yeah.
So I have Sonny Alcantara and Sixto Sanchez and guys like that. So they're loading up a rotation / long relief bullpen or tradable pieces in the near future.
Yeah. The Marlins are doing a lot of right things. I think they'll be good in the somewhat near future here. It was definitely smart. This is a smart trade for them because they're building towards. You can see what they're building towards. But yeah, if the A's sign Starling Marte back, this is a pretty easy trade pill to swallow, getting rid of Jesus Luzardo, especially if he turns out to be a pretty good pitcher. So
yeah, it's a good move. I mean, it's the Marlins are going for the idea of it's hard to find pitching.
Yeah, right.
So let's grow our own pitching and we'll find hitting.
Right.
So that's what they're doing, and it's not a bad move because the A's don't lose 3 guys; they lose 1.
Yeah.
So it's straight up 1 for 1.
Yeah.
That guy turns out good. All right. If he doesn't, all right.
Yeah.
You have 3 guys. You have 3 chances of being one of the guys being good.
That's true.
So it always depends on what the A's do. So A's go to win the World Series. Every trade worked.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, whatever piece you put there. Next trade is a little bit smaller. Rockies traded away Michael Givens to the Reds for right-handed pitcher Case Williams and right-handed pitcher Noah Davis. The Reds getting a bullpen piece in Michael Givens. Michael Givens is pretty good. I wouldn't say he's like a game changer for them, but he's good. So kind of a pretty, nothing trade. Yeah, I'm not sure how you're kind of feeling about this trade. Like I said, I just don't think it's much to really get excited about, really, for either team.
No, I mean, it's something to at least keep the Reds, we'll get a little piece, add on. You never know. Get hot. The offense, might help them out later in the season if they, like I said, they make a little run. Otherwise, I think Givens might have another year of control. So that could be a reason, too. Reds kind of hoping for next year.
Yeah.
So, that's what it is. It's just more of a we're not selling really, but we're not really buying. So, kind of keep the players kind of entertained, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. The next trade here is kind of the same, but there was a little bit more to it, at least when we saw it. The Yankees trading away right-handed pitcher Luis Cessa and left-handed pitcher Justin Wilson to the Reds for a player to be named later. Again, the Reds get a pretty good bullpen piece in Luis Cessa, a former really good bullpen piece in Justin Wilson has definitely struggled in the past, in the recent times here. But this, for us, when we saw this, it was freeing up roster space and money for something else. So we kind of saw some writing on the wall here for the Yankees, with what they were doing.
Yeah, it clears up some roster space, some 40-man roster space, some money. Also, it gets a chance for maybe not this year, but next year for some young guys to get on the 40-man roster and get into the majors.
Yeah.
So it was just to clear up some space and some stuff. But the Reds, they obviously get two bullpen pieces that can help them out down the stretch.
Right. Yep. Still on the same day here, the Pirates traded away left-handed pitcher Tyler Anderson to the Mariners for catcher Carter Binns and right-handed pitcher Joaquin Tejada. Pirates obviously were sellers, trading away what they can to get more young guys, get ready for the future. To the Mariners, I guess the Mariners build a little bit here. I don't know what the prospect poll that they got from this was, but it's again, Pirates are a lowly team. They're not, they're not all of a sudden going to be good. Probably maybe within the next 2 years. And the Mariners are kind of almost there. So they're, maybe Tyler Anderson fits into their whatever they're seeing as their plan. So again, nothing that's going to immediately impact anything, but it could, sometime down the line you could see the effects of it.
Yeah, Tyler Anderson, a somewhat younger pitcher, could definitely help out a little bit, keep them competitive this year yet. And I think he signed maybe a 1-year deal with the Pirates.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure, Tyler Anderson, so it could be like maybe he has control next year, but I think it was a 1-year deal, so maybe if he pitches well, you keep him around. But, it keeps you, like I said, it keeps you somewhat competitive this year, and the Pirates obviously get rid of a guy and get 2 younger guys, so, the more younger guys you get, someone's going to hit and someone's going to be relatively good, so it's just a good little deal.
Yeah, definitely. This is the last deal of the day for the 28th. The Nationals, I thought this was a good deal for both teams, but the Nationals traded Kyle Schwarber, outfielder Kyle Schwarber, to the Red Sox for right-handed pitcher Aldo Ramirez. Works for both teams. The Nationals were obviously selling and were kind of blowing it up in a way. So Schwarber doesn't fit into that. And the Red Sox need a guy, like that for their offense and their playoff push. So I thought for both of what both teams are doing, I thought this was a great trade for both of them.
Yeah, getting Schwarber always helps. They kind of need a first baseman. I'm not sure if Schwarber's going to be the answer at first base. But he could help you at DH.
Yeah.
And fill some outfield spots, too. He would say, you can get J.D. Martinez out of the outfield, but putting Schwarber out there is not much of a difference. So I'm not really what you're going to do unless Schwarber plays first base. But definitely not a bad piece. You get talent, you'll figure it out later on. So, a good deal for the Red Sox to get somebody, and then for the Nationals to get rid of a guy on a 1-year deal is always, no matter what you do, it's always good.
Yeah, you got something for it.
Yeah.
Now, this is on all trades starting on the 29th. Start with one of the big ones, one of the big shakers, and one of the big moments we knew the Cubs were blowing it up. The Yankees traded right-handed pitcher Alexander Vizcaino and center fielder Kevin Alcantara to the Cubs for first baseman Anthony Rizzo and cash. Again, this is, when we started to realize that the Cubs are kind of blowing it up and getting rid of their guys, which is smart for them. Smart for the Yankees because they're getting a guy almost as a rental player and they're not paying him anything. And I don't believe they gave up too much in the prospect pool here. They gave up 2 guys. So good trade for both teams. They both did what they needed to do and, help the Yankees try to get into the playoffs and the Cubs can start the rebuild.
Yeah, it's a good trade for both teams. The Yankees get Rizzo, defensive first baseman, a lefty. Both things that they were struggling at. A guy who's a free agent next year at a position the Yankees could use, so plays well in the stretch here. Maybe the Yankees try keeping him. Cubs get 2 players for a guy who's going to be a free agent and really relatively struggling out there for the Cubs. So it's a good deal for them. So both, good deal for both sides. Like I said, if he's a free agent or he's on a 1-year deal, there's no point in keeping him unless you're in the hunt. It's just going to be a waste of time, essentially.
Yeah.
So good for both teams, and it really helped the Yankees out, especially the first series with Rizzo. So, we'll see, but it's a good trade for both teams. It's a good player going from no one to a contender. So that's exactly what a trade deadline is all about.
Yep, exactly. That was definitely a good trade. This one I kind of questioned why more teams didn't think about this, but the Royals traded away left-handed pitcher Danny Duffy to the Dodgers for a player to be named later. I think Danny Duffy has, a lot of value. Has he been the best pitcher in the league? No, but I think that in the past he's definitely shown a lot of talent, a lot of value, and just for a player to be named later, I thought that any contending team could have made this trade, and Dodgers coming in and snatch him up, I thought was a great deal, and I don't know if it was the best deal for the Royals just to get a player to be named later. I mean, you get something, but You know?
I mean, Danny Duffy is a little bit injury prone here recently. I mean, he's injured right now. Coming off, he'll be a free agent after the year. So we had to get something for him. But yeah, obviously there was a little bit of a low asking price for a guy who also could pitch a little bit out of the bullpen.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. I think the Royals could have got a little bit more for him, but the idea of at least getting something for him is not bad. And then the Dodgers obviously adding a pitcher who, for a while this year, was one of the better pitchers in the AL and has always had pretty good potential. So definitely a good move for the Dodgers. And then for the Royals, it's more of a gray area. You could have got more, but you got something, so you didn't just let them ride out.
Yeah, yep, that's true. The next trade is the Mariners trade we were kind of alluding to before. The Mariners traded third baseman Austin Shenton and right-handed pitcher JT Chargois, I'm not sure if I'm saying his name right, to the Rays for right-handed pitcher Diego Castillo. Now this I thought was really good for the Mariners, considering Diego Castillo is a very good pitcher, and you have control of him for quite a few years here. You're probably going into your years where you're probably expecting the team to start kind of coming together. Your prospects are up and have had time to develop and maybe figure out some pitching things, and you start to get some bullpen pieces. You start to put things together, and I thought this was a great deal for them. I'm not quite sure why the Rays did it. Maybe paying Castillo at some point. The Rays are a little bit mysterious sometimes with their deals. Maybe they see something in the guys they got. But I thought this was a good move for the Mariners overall.
Yeah, it's good for the Mariners. They got a pitcher who's under control through 2024. Helps relieve some of the, slack left by Kendall Graveman being traded. So it's definitely not a bad move for them. Like I said, it gives you a pitcher who you're going to have for this year, maybe next year, and you got a guy you're going to have for 4 or 5 years, Diego Castillo. For the Rays, you have to get 2 players for him, so that's good. But to get rid of a bullpen piece doesn't make too much sense. They have Nick Anderson coming back and guys like that. But, we'll see how it plays out. They obviously just swept the Red Sox, so I guess, didn't hurt them there. But definitely a good move for the Mariners and their soon-to-be contending team they have coming up.
Yeah, definitely. The next trade here is the Indians trading away second baseman Cesar Hernandez to the White Sox for left-handed pitcher Connor Pilkington. I thought was a great trade for the White Sox because Cesar Hernandez has a lot of talent, and I think that he goes under the radar a little bit at times, especially being a switch hitter. So the White Sox, I think, made out here good with this deal. The Indians got something for Cesar Hernandez. I'm not sure if he's just a rental player, like his contract's coming up at the end of the year, or what. But and I don't know the Connor Pilkington, this lefty that they got. I don't know what his deal is, if he's of any value. But I thought this is good for the White Sox, and especially because they make another deal in which they get rid of one of their second basemen. So I think it's a pretty good deal, and I think it works for both teams in a way.
Yeah, Cesar Hernandez is a good get for the White Sox. Obviously, they're in on Escobar and some other second basemen, so they definitely needed one there after an injury earlier in the year. But getting Cesar Hernandez is a guy, he's been hitting for more power. Usually he's like a 260 or 270, 280 hitter. This year he's been down, but more power. Pretty good defensively. And he's been around a little while, so he's definitely going to be a good piece to fit in for the White Sox. So definitely a good trade on both sides. The Indians getting rid of a guy they don't need, and somebody the White Sox could definitely use. So it's a good trade.
Yeah. 2 more here before the day was finished. This was a big trade, and another trade that kind of worked for the Yankees here. Oh, actually, it really works for both teams. But Rangers traded away left-handed pitcher Joely Rodriguez, I believe that's how you say his name, and right fielder Joey Gallo, and cash to the Yankees for second baseman Ezekiel Duran, right-handed pitcher Glenn Otto, second baseman Josh H. Smith, and second baseman Trevor Hoover, I believe that's how you say his name, or Hoover. Big trade, big-time trade. 4 guys going to the Rangers. 2 guys coming to the Yankees. Again, like previous Rizzo trade we mentioned, Joey Gallo, although has another year of control next year, is being paid by the Rangers for this year. So it works out definitely for the Yankees for their payroll this season. Helps their playoff push, and the Rangers get a good haul back. They get 4 guys. So even though they're not in the highest portion of the Yankee prospect pool, you get 4 guys. You got to figure that you can do something with 1, 2, maybe even 3 of them. So
yeah.
I think it works out well for both.
Yeah, I mean it's a pretty good trade for both teams. Rangers get 4 players. The hope is one of them becomes pretty good. The prospects weren't bad, so it's it's a deal you have to make if you're not planning on paying Gallo, which I don't think they were.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Yankees, you obviously get a left-handed power bat A guy who's versatile, could play a little bit of first, maybe even third, but some outfield spots, lefty bat. Doesn't really help with their strikeouts, but the idea of it's a lefty power bat and a good defender. Again, that's the big thing was getting good defenders. And then getting a left-handed relief pitcher to help fill in for the holes left by Sessa and Justin Wilson. So it's not a bad trade for them. But the Rangers, get 4 prospects. The idea that one becomes pretty good or one, is a guy you'll have in the future that helps you win, or even helps you trade for someone else. It's a good trade.
Yeah, definitely. I thought it was great. I thought it was really good for both teams, and especially to a Yankee team that's had struggle with lefty offense this year. The last trade of the day is the Nationals trading away left-handed pitcher Brad Hand to the Blue Jays for catcher Riley Adams. Again, I think this works for both teams. I think it works very well for the Blue Jays, who notably had bullpen issues coming into the year. I think that they do have some nice pieces out there, some guys that really have some good stuff, but Brad Hand shores up the bullpen a little bit more. And the Nationals, if I'm not mistaken, just got him on a 1-year deal, so getting something for him when you're kind of blowing it up is always good too. So again, a trade I think that works out well for both teams.
Yeah, Blue Jays getting a relief pitcher definitely helps, and the Nationals getting rid of a guy that is on a 1-year deal on a non-contended team is always a good idea. So it's I know Brent Hand's a relatively big name, but it's really not much else you could say. It's both teams work out there. Blue Jays get a guy they can use, and the Nationals get a young guy who can help out later in the future.
Yeah. So moving on to the last day here, we got quite a few trades, obviously, that happened. Some smaller ones, but definitely there's maybe the biggest one in this day. But first, the Angels traded away left-handed pitcher Andrew Heaney and cash to the Yankees for right-handed pitcher Elvis Peguero and right-handed pitcher Jansen Junk. This trade was, I believe, towards the end of the day, and Andrew Heaney, a guy that hasn't worked out quite as he was supposed to thus far, a guy maybe the Yankees are taking a little bit of a gamble on, but the Angels, have had notable pitching struggles in the past, so I don't think this really affects their rotation much. So I don't think getting rid of someone like Heaney is too bad on them, and I think the Yankees taking a chance on him can't hurt them, especially they've had pretty good starting pitching this year, so I think it works out well for both teams, but I don't think this is like an earth shaker or anything. I think it's just kind of is what it is.
No, it's just depth for the Yankees. They get a left-handed pitcher. Again, they need a little bit of left-handed pitching as well, so they get a left-handed pitcher, a guy who's had high upside in the past, and worst case you can throw him out in the bullpen as well. He's been out there a little bit, and then the Angels getting rid of a pitcher who I believe was arbitration last year. I think he was a free agent this year. So again, getting rid of somebody that you're not having next year, or probably not going to sign back next year for prospects is always helpful. So it's a good trade for both sides. It's more of a smaller trade. Yankees are going to use it more for depth. Angels get rid of a guy for some younger guys just to bring in and see what happens.
Yep. Next trade is the Angels again. They traded away left-handed pitcher Tony Watson to the Giants for right-handed pitcher Jose Marte, left-handed pitcher Sam Selman, and right-handed pitcher Ivan Armstrong. I was actually a little surprised with this trade. Why you gave up a lot for Tony Watson? I know coming back to the Giants, is a thing for them. I think he's a little bit on the older side. I don't know what kind of year he's having, honestly. But 3 guys for just the one, thought was a little strange. Overall, I think it'll help the Giants, because they're really in a place that not a lot of people thought they would be in. And the Angels get 3 guys back for one pitcher. So, you'd like to think one of these guys work out in the bullpen or something to replace him essentially down the line, quote unquote.
Yeah, it's a great trade for the Angels. You get 3 players, you never know. The more players you get, the better chance you have of one of them being good. And then the Giants obviously getting left-handed relief helped up, never going to hurt.
No.
So that's good, and a guy you're comfortable with, and a guy that the Angels signed right after spring training. He was released or designated for assignment, Tony Watson.
Yeah.
So a guy that you snatched up before the season started, and then you get 3 players for it is a great trade for the Angels.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Next one's a big trade. The Cubs traded away. He's considered a left fielder on here. I don't know what his primary position really is anymore, but left fielder Chris Bryant to the Giants for center fielder Alexander Canario and right-handed pitcher Caleb Killian. Again, like we said before, Cubs kind of blowing it up here, had to get rid of some guys. Giants, big-time move for them. I think very, very smart. They're really going for it. They have the best record in the league, and getting a guy like Chris Bryant definitely can't hurt. And the Cubs getting, what they can for him while they're, getting rid of some of their stars. So, again, I think this works really well for the Giants, and I think it works out for the Cubs, obviously, as well.
Yeah, it's a good trade all around. Giants get a guy who's versatile, can help them wherever, and a big bat to help out, and a guy who's been in the playoffs, knows how to win. And then the Cubs continue their teardown. You have to get rid of guys. You're not going to pay them all. The team, is going to be struggling here. So just to let them ride it out is just not smart. You get prospects, and that's how you, build a system faster and get the team competing faster. If you let all these aging guys or guys, run their contracts out, that's when you get these long rebuilds that they've seen in the past.
Yeah.
So it's a good trade for both sides. Chris Bryant could definitely help the Giants. Definitely help them out this year and get them a bat in the middle of the lineup for a team that actually has quite a bit of lefties too when they're fully healthy. So they get a righty bat who's versatile could definitely help.
Yeah, absolutely. This one's kind of a little bit of a smaller trade, but the Cubs traded away center fielder Jake Marisnick to the Padres for right-handed pitcher Anderson Espinoza. Just a depth move. I think the Cubs getting something for Jake Marisnick is good, and Padres get a little bit of depth adding the guy. He's okay. Like I said, it's a depth move. He's not going to be one of the all-stars maybe on the Padres, but it adds some help in the outfield for them.
Yeah, that's just good depth. A guy who could play good defense, defensive replacement or substitution, a little pinch runner, a little bit of pop off the bench. So it's just a good little bench player for the Padres, and adding pieces, veteran pieces, to a team that you expect to win with is always a good idea.
Yeah. More or less kind of the same deal here. The Orioles trading away shortstop Freddie Galvis to the Phillies for right-handed pitcher Tyler Birch. Orioles aren't going anywhere right now. Getting rid of someone like Freddie Galvis and getting something for him is always good. The Phillies add some depth with Freddie Galvis. He could definitely start some games there or be a guy off the bench, or he'll definitely fit in with the Phillies. And like I said, the Orioles get something for him. A guy that really isn't, a part of a winning. The Orioles aren't winning now, and they're probably a few years off yet. So, again, another trade that works out for both teams what they need.
Yeah, that's a good trade. The Phillies have Freddie Galvis back to the Phillies. He was there for a while in his career. Switch hitter, plays multiple positions, knows what he's doing. Could help fill in for the Phillies, and especially with some injuries they've had in the past. And then the Orioles just getting something for a guy who's going to be free agent to be. So just a good trade for both teams, and helps maybe the Phillies chase down the Mets in the NL East.
Yeah. This one I actually scratched my head at a little bit. I got to be honest, but I guess I could see the idea here. I just don't know the haul. It was smart. But the Rangers traded away right-handed pitcher Kyle Gibson and right-handed pitcher Ian Kennedy and right-handed pitcher Hans Kraus and cash to the Phillies for right-handed pitcher Spencer Howard, right-handed pitcher Kevin Gowdy, and right-handed pitcher Josh Gessner. So it's a 3-for-3, and you get some cash out of it. The Phillies get some cash out of it. They get Kyle Gibson, pretty good pitcher. Ian Kennedy, you get a bullpen piece. I'm not sure. I'm not too familiar with Hans Kraus, but giving away Spencer Howard is a little suspect. I'm not sure what the idea was there. I know that he's pretty highly regarded in their system, so this one made me scratch my head. I think it works out better for the Rangers, in a way. So
yeah,
at least initially.
The Rangers win this trade for sure. You get rid of guys who are having better years than really expected. The Phillies got rid of their top prospect a few years back, one of the top prospects in all baseball. I believe he was like a top 40 prospect in all baseball.
Yeah.
He hasn't pitched all that great. They haven't really given him a chance to pitch long in the games. But to get rid of a guy like that for a team when the Phillies aren't, like I said, they're trying to chase down a playoff spot, so not that they're out of it. But they get rid of Spencer Howard for Kyle Gibson and Ian Kennedy. It just doesn't really make that much sense. I don't think there's enough consistent talent there to make that move. So the Rangers make out great there. And the Phillies, it's not awful. It's not like, oh, well, that was just, get rid of the farm for everything there. But, it's just unless the Phillies make the playoffs and make a run here, I don't really see it being that great of a deal. Because Spencer Howard is a guy who has a really good chance of being, pretty good. And even if not in the rotation, at least out of the bullpen. So, it's just, it doesn't make, I don't think it makes that much sense.
No, I'm not sure what the deal is with that either. Well, time will tell if Spencer Howard works out, and if he does, I don't, it's not a good trade. Or, like you said, if the Phillies really do something this year. The next few here are kind of, we can just run through real quick. They're not really huge. They're not really huge barn burners here. Indians trade away right-handed pitcher DJ Johnson and center fielder Jordan Luplow to the Rays for right-handed pitcher Peyton Batenfield. Rays get a guy that kills lefties. They get a guy like Michael Brosseau they have, so you get some depth there. But other than that, it's kind of
Yeah,
You know,
just a small trade, little piece. Raise one of, I guess, someone a good hitter against lefties. They got it. That's it. That's just a move.
yeah. The next one here, Pirates traded left-handed pitcher Austin Davis to the Red Sox for second baseman Michael Chavis. I think the Pirates get a nice player here with Michael Chavis. Austin Davis. The Red Sox do need, even though they've been good all year, they do need, I think, some pitching as opposed to more offense. So I guess it works for both teams. But again, not nothing that's going to shake the world, especially for the Pirates getting Michael Chavis. So
No, I think the Pirates work out here. Michael Chavis was a higher up prospect, and not that long ago. So I think the Pirates get a better deal here. But the Red Sox obviously need a little bit of pitching. So I'm not going to say it didn't help them. So it's a small deal, but could help both teams in one for the near future, one for years to come.
yeah. Next one's a narrative we've heard before. Diamondbacks trading right-handed pitcher Joakim Soria to the Blue Jays for 2 players to be named later. Like I said, previously Diamondbacks really aren't going for nothing. So getting rid of a guy they signed to a 1-year deal, and the Blue Jays getting another bullpen piece, adding to the Brad Hand acquisition, shores up their bullpen a little bit to help for the playoffs. So 2 players to be named later could have been a little bit maybe better haul, but you never know what you get. There's been players to be named later that have worked out, so
Yeah.
you never know.
Yeah, I mean, it's just what it is. Diamondbacks need to get rid of guys. Soria not, doing great this year, and Diamondbacks, awful. So getting 2, players to be named later or whatever, it's going to help them. It can't hurt them, in the future. So just a small trade. Good for the Blue Jays for the now, and for the Diamondbacks, it is what it is.
Yeah. We're going to start getting into some of the bigger trades here. There's definitely some big ones coming up. So let's start with the Royals trading away right fielders Jorge Soler to the Braves for right-handed pitcher Casey Kalich. Jorge Soler isn't quite having the season like he did last year or the previous year. But if you get that kind of talent for the Braves, a team that's really just been marred with injuries, I think that this really, really works out for them. I think this is a good deal for both teams, but I think the Braves really could see some upside with Jorge Soler.
Yeah, Soler's got the ultimate power. So it's a good move for the Braves. They need a little offense, and you get a guy like that who's going to come in and mash home runs, maybe fill some of the home runs that were missing by Acuna's injury. So a good deal for both sides. Royals get rid of a guy for a younger guy, and the Braves get a guy for the here and now who's, has got some just unbelievable strength.
Big time trade coming up here. The Cubs trade away shortstop Javier Baez, right-handed pitcher Trevor Williams, and cash to the Mets for center fielder Pete Crow Armstrong. If I had to guess, Pete Crow Armstrong was maybe a little bit more highly regarded in the Mets system if it's just one guy for Javier Baez and Trevor Williams. So I'm not, I don't know much about the guy, but the Mets getting Javier Baez, especially if they sign him, it works out for them very well. And Trevor Williams is a good little piece for them too. So I think this trade works for the Mets especially because they're they're a division leader right now, so they're really going for it. And again, Cubs blowing it up, so they get something for their guys.
Yeah, I think the Cubs maybe could have got, you always like to get more players. You have a better chance of something. But they get a higher regarded guy for Baez, who was a free agent after the year, and a guy who swings and misses a lot. So not a bad trade for the Cubs. I think they could have maybe got a little bit more just, player quantity-wise. And then the Mets get Baez, who could help fill in for Lindor, some injuries until he comes back. And then you can kind of move around your offense and your defense and kind of go from there. So we'll see what happens. But, not a bad trade either way.
Yeah. The next trade here I thought was a fantastic trade for both teams, but the Nationals traded away infielder Josh Harrison and catcher Yan Gomes and cash to the A's for catcher Drew Milas, right-handed pitcher Richard Gouache, and right-handed pitcher Seth Schumann. I think these guys will fit right in with the A's. I think that's a move for the Athletics if I ever seen one. And the Nationals getting something for Josh Harrison, who they thought probably nothing of when they got him. And granted, Yan Gomes, has been a real big piece for them. But you're getting 3 guys back, one of them which being a catcher. So I think this works out really good for both teams, and I think this is a really good trade for the A's. We're really, they're going for it. So
yeah,
I think this works out great.
This is a perfect A's trade. Josh Harrison is a perfect A's player. Has maybe reminded me of like a Howie Kendrick. He's gonna go there. He's gonna have a big hit. Everyone's gonna love him, and that's gonna be great. Yan Gomes been around a while, having a pretty good year. Can help spare Sean Murphy when his days off. But Josh Harrison can move around the field. Of course, versatility is perfect for the A's, and he's a great player. Hits some home runs, hits for a decent average, going to run the bases, play defense. He's just perfect. And then Nationals getting anything back for those 2 aging veterans is good too.
Yeah. We got a few more here, probably like a handful, 4 or 5, but this is probably the biggest trade of the deadline. Again, the Nationals involved. Nationals trading away right-handed pitcher Max Scherzer and shortstop Trey Turner to the Dodgers for right fielder Donovan Casey, right-handed pitcher Gerardo Carrillo, right-handed pitcher Josiah Gray, and catcher Kyber Ruiz. Now, Josiah Gray and Kyber Ruiz being, I believe, 1 and 2 in the Dodgers prospect pool, if not, right around there. Also, guys in the top 100. So you get a really good switch hitting catcher, I believe, and a highly thought of pitcher. But the Dodgers do get Trey Turner and Max Scherzer, who are some of the best at their respective positions. So I think that the Nationals really made out here with especially those two guys. But I think that the Dodgers, with everything going on with Trevor Bauer, needed to shore up. What better way to shore up a piece of your rotation with Max Scherzer and shore up your middle infield with Trey Turner, and now you have him and Corey Seager. So I mean, this is really blockbuster.
Yeah, this is the biggest trade we've seen in some time. I mean, for the Nationals, they did okay. I really think they should have got more. Yeah, Trey Turner was under contract, obviously this year and next year. A guy you're not going to pay a bunch. Versatility, good average, got power, can run the bases, fights through injuries, knows how to win. He's clutch. We've seen that. And then you get rid of a pitcher like Scherzer, who's got a Hall of Fame type career at this point. They got 2 top prospects, but I feel like they could have got a third higher prospect. Because Turner's going to be there next year as well. For the Dodgers, it's great. Obviously helps shore up your team right now, and also gives you flexibility for next year when Corey Seager's contract's up after this year. You don't have to sign Seager back to that big deal if he wants it. You can move Turner to shortstop, back to shortstop, have him for a year, and figure things out again. I'm not saying they will do that because they'll just buy all their players, because that seems to be the way to do it.
Sure.
I think they're $85 million higher than the next salary cap team. So that's what it is. But it's a great trade for the Dodgers. Nationals is not bad. I think they could have got more. I mean, I think Trey Turner alone could have got probably maybe both of those guys just alone. And then you throw Scherzer in. I mean, I feel like you could have got a third, maybe not like their number 3 prospect, but maybe like a 5 or a 6, higher up guy, or maybe a guy even like Gavin Lux who's been struggling, and he was a high prospect. Maybe you take a flyer on him.
Yeah. I think that I think you might be right. I think that these guys do command that kind of value, especially the seasons that they're having. Scherzer obviously getting a little older, but Trey Turner, right? I mean,
Trey Turner's one of the best shortstops in all of baseball. I think really is. He's probably really a top 5 shortstop. I'd have him over a lot of shortstops.
Yeah.
I think you're taking. I'm taking him over Seager, of Turner's consistency.
Yeah, I agree.
Seager's 1 year really go of it. I'm taking him over Correa because Correa's always hurt. And Turner is just he does everything, runs the bases as well. He's. You can take him over a lot of guys because he's more of a standard shortstop who runs the bases.
Yep. He caused a lot of problems on the base path.
But also hits 20 to 25 home runs. I think you take him. I'd take him over Bogarts as well. I think Bogarts' stats get inflated because of Boston. He doesn't run the bases, doesn't play great defense either. So I mean, you could take him over a lot of these guys.
Yeah.
Because of his, what he does and his versatility. He can play second base. He can play third base. He can play outfield. But also the ability to steal bases, hit home runs, and hit for a 300 average. And then be clutch. We've seen it with the Nationals that year. He was one of their clutchest hitters.
Yeah, definitely. It's about as blockbuster as you get, and this was the big one for the deadline, I feel. But we'll see what happens. I think it does work out for both teams, and you're going to see the effects of this trade for a little bit here. Next trade, just a few more here. Cubs trade away right-handed pitcher Craig Kimbrell to the White Sox for right-handed pitcher Cody Hewer. I hope I'm saying his name right, and second baseman Nick Madrigal. Obviously good for the White Sox. That bullpen is sick now with him and Craig Kimbrell, Liam Hendricks at the back end. Definitely helps them out. And the Cubs getting Nick Madrigal, I think, is fantastic. We both of us think very highly of Nick Madrigal. So when he had a pretty solid, he had a pretty good injury early in the year. So when he comes back and starts starting for the Cubs aren't obviously going anywhere next year now with all these trading away. But I think that he could be someone maybe you keep around for a while, or maybe as his value starts to grow and you start to get a little better, you get a lot of prospects for him or whatever. I think that I like Madrigal a lot, and obviously Craig Kimbrell helping the White Sox out is a no-brainer.
Yeah, it's a good trade. It just lengthens a bullpen that's already good. Lengthens the pitching staff that's already good for the White Sox, and for the Cubs. Yeah, they got Nick Madrigal, which is great. Obviously he's not going to fill up the stat categories. He's not going to sit there hit a bunch of home runs. He's a guy who should steal some bases this year. He wasn't stealing a bunch, but he's a guy who can steal some bases. He plays, above average defense. but he doesn't strike out. He makes contact, hits the ball, puts it in play. He's got a bat for a high average. So it's a good guy for the Cubs to get. You can kind of see, the White Sox need to win this year. They want to win this year, maybe next year. Like, this is their time right now.
Yep.
So, having Nick Madrigal around, sure can help, but, not going to help you this year with his injury, and might even help you all that much next year with your injury either.
Right.
But, he's a great player. The White Sox got the here and now, helped that bullpen, and the Cubs got a guy who's was a high prospect, and he's a good player. He's just a really good player. He's just, again, he's not going to fill up, your stat columns. He's a guy who definitely needs some help with him because he's going to get on base, and you need someone to knock him in. He's a David Fletcher type. Absolutely.
Yeah, he like I said, we think very highly of him, and he'll work out with the Cubs, and Craig Kimball's going to work out with the White Sox. I'm pretty sure of it. Two more trades here, one big one and one I just want to bring up this one because it just made me scratch my head. Indians trading away left fielder Eddie Rosario and cash to the Braves for first baseman Pablo Sandoval. Pablo Sandoval early in the season was about as clutch can be for the Braves coming off the bench. So, the Indians get him, but I'm pretty sure he already got released. For Eddie Rosario, who I think has a lot of talent. And again, Braves making a move to help out. They had a little bit of an ailing team and to help shore up some offense. Pretty good defensive guy too. And the Indians, I just don't understand. You basically got nothing because you already released Pablo Sandoval, so I guess it frees up money.
I think it's just a money spot. It's good for the Braves to get Eddie Rosario and get rid of Sandoval, who's a guy just paying money to kind of sit around.
Yeah.
So it's good for the Braves to get Eddie Rosario. For the Indians, it just saves money. It's just what it is. So it's a money saver and a save a roster spot. So it is what it is. It's just kind of the way things happen in baseball, and that's the deadline.
Sure. The last one here we're going to talk about is the Twins trading away right-handed pitcher Jose Barrios to the Blue Jays for center fielder Austin Martin and right-handed pitcher Simeon Woods Richardson. Again, Blue Jays going with the pitching, this time with the starting pitching. Great deal for them. Jose Barrios is a guy that eats innings. He's a bona fide, could be a really solid ace depending on what team he's with. For them, he sits right there with Ryu as their ace. And the Twins, I don't know how much control Barrios has now with the Blue Jays. It might be a walk here for him. But the Twins, obviously, really having an abysmal season. Getting two guys for him is works out well. I don't know how highly these guys are in the Blue Jays system, but I think it works out for them. But the Blue Jays definitely needed a guy like this, so this works out good for the Blue Jays.
It's a good trade for the Blue Jays to get a pitcher like that. I believe he has also control next year. But the Blue Jays give Richardson, and that's a great guy for the Twins to get. Mm-hmm. Richardson's one of the Blue Jays higher up prospects. Mm-hmm. So that's a good trade for both sides. Barrios is going to help them here and now and next year, and Twins get some prospects for a guy who you're in last place essentially. So he's not doing anything. And it's time to start looking at which guys you're going to keep and what guys you're going to trade, and try making this a quick rebuild for the Twins.
Yep. So that's all I had for the trades. Quite a few of them. There's obviously other ones that were just smaller,
Millions of them.
Yeah. I could have.
Plus the ones we already talked about: Nelson Cruz, Adam Frazier, guys like that we talked about last week.
Yeah. So there were definitely more here to talk about. So if you didn't hear a trade that you thought was a little bit bigger than we made it out to be, let us know. But that was the big deals for the deadline and where you're going to see major pieces moving around and doing. So with that, who do you think, or I know you have winners and losers, what do you think with that?
Well, yeah, it was a huge trade deadline. All 30 teams made a deal. 27 teams made a deal on the last day of the deadline. I think some winners to look at: the Yankees, one, getting some good players and not paying any of them.
Definitely.
Blue Jays, obviously, building up a team to help or make a run for things. White Sox, they got a second baseman to fill an injury. They got another bullpen pitch to lengthen the pitching staff. Dodgers got two great players. One that's going to be there next year. One who's going to be, the here and now in the rotation is going to be almost the ace. Mm. And then the Cubs, even though they got rid of all their guys, they didn't go, oh, well, we love them. Hell, they helped us win a World Series. Let's keep them and let them just finish the year. And no, you got to get the prospects for them. Otherwise, you're going to have a 10-year rebuild like they already had instead of having a 3-year rebuild. You don't want that.
Agreed.
So the Cubs, I think, actually were winners as well.
Agreed.
Some losers in this. Even winner, to be honest with you, the Rangers.
Yeah.
I think they made out well, too, because especially the Spencer Howard trade, which is what I'm going to get to here. The losers, Red Sox, I don't think they did enough to help their pitching. Yeah, Sale's coming back. Yeah, your offense has been doing good. You really didn't fix first base unless you play on G.A. Martinez playing first or Schwarber playing first. You didn't really fix first base. You got another outfielder who not really that good in the outfield. So either JD's playing outfield or Schwarber. So that doesn't really help you that much. So I think they didn't really get enough pitching to help out, especially because you get Sale back, but the bullpen could use a little help, and the rotation could definitely use some help. The Astros, I don't think did quite. They didn't really. They got some minor bullpen guys. They're starting pitching. I feel like they could have got a big, not a big name, but maybe a guy a little bit more established. They have a lot of younger guys not really established. Offensively, they're still, they're one of the best teams. But maybe could have maybe got figure something out. Maybe get Yordan Alvarez back to DH and maybe get an outfielder or maybe get a catcher.
Yeah.
But I don't think they just did. Not that they're probably the highest of the losers, I guess you could say, because they did a little bit, but I feel like they could have. After all the other offseason, all the other trades they make in season the last couple of years, they definitely could have made a big swing here. Maybe that's because they maybe expect Verlander to come out of the bullpen at the end of the year. There's a small possibility of that.
Yeah, I don't know.
The Mariners, I think, were losers. They just because of the fact that the team turned on them.
Yeah.
The team came out and was like, "We hate you now because you traded our guy away."
And I think they're like 1-4, 1-5 since
they blew back-to-back saves.
Yeah, there you go.
So that's kind of sucks for them. They made some decent moves for the future. But for the team and the players who are on it, it's hurt hard for them.
Sure.
The Phillies, I thought, really didn't have a great deadline. Just hands down, get rid of Spencer Howard for Kyle Gibson and Ian Kennedy. I just don't think it's that smart. Kyle Gibson pitched pretty well yesterday. He's a pretty good pitcher. Ian Kennedy's not bad out of the bullpen. Spencer Howard was one of the top prospects in all baseball. To get him for two guys who aren't Ian Kennedy and Kyle Gibson, they're just not going to be like, yeah, those are our guys. Hard to rely on them. They're pitching pretty good, but I don't, consistency is what you pay for.
Right.
So I don't know. I just don't know about that. Cardinals, they got John Lester.
Yeah.
They didn't really do much.
Yeah, they got rid of John Gant.
Yeah, they got rid of John Gant. I mean, they didn't do nothing. They didn't hurt themselves. They just didn't do much. You thought the team that was getting hot and the offense starting to figure it out, and maybe some guys get healthy. Maybe they'll jump in. Maybe they get a Scherzer, make a big move. Maybe they jump in and get some smaller moves from the bullpen, and make a run at it. But they didn't hurt themselves. I think they could have done a little bit more with the talent they have.
Yeah.
And the Brewers really didn't do anything. They got Eduardo Escobar. Yeah, that's he's a good player, but you didn't figure out first base, which is your weakness.
Yep.
And I think your outfield, Jackie Bradley's been terrible. Lorenzo Cain's been okay. Second base, Keston Herrera has been awful. He's been in AAA like 4 times now because he's been that bad.
Yep.
Willie Adames has been playing good, but he's starting to come back down to earth a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you could have made a move somewhere else with the Brewers and maybe got a bullpen piece as well, because I don't see that starting pitching being as great as it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's been unbelievable. So eventually that's going to weaken a little bit, which means you're really going to put pressure on the bullpen. And the bullpen's Josh Hader and the other guys are pitching all right. Devin Williams has been struggling a little bit. So I feel like they could have got maybe a first baseman and maybe another pitcher if they're really expecting to go deep into the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they could have maybe done a little bit more, especially if you're really expecting, to be the contender.
Yeah, agreed. So that's I'm kind of in agreement with you. I thought there were, some teams that did okay, that didn't really have to do much. Some lower teams that got some value for guys. But I think that covers pretty much the major winners and losers.
I mean, if you want to throw some other teams you went out there, I don't want to go into the A's because they did a pretty good job. Rockies,
yeah.
John Gray, you could have got rid of. You really should have probably got rid of him. Trevor Story, Daniel Bard, that kind of scratches your head there. Diamondbacks, David Peralta would have been a great guy to trade away. Ketel Marte could have got you a lot. Even Bumgarner maybe might have snuck him on a team somewhere. Maybe we would have got something.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the Diamondbacks could have really opened the trade deadline. They would have just decided to be, what they wanted to be. So maybe some extra ones you can throw in there. But, it is what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. A very good trade deadline, though. One of the most active trade deadlines I can remember. A lot of big trades, a lot of big moves, and definitely entertaining.
But just position players value was very low.
Yeah.
You weren't going to get much for position players, which was kind of surprising because of the big ones that are out there. And you didn't see the top prospects flying around. Other than the Nationals getting, the Dodgers too, and maybe the Phillies with Spencer Howard, there really wasn't many big top prospects. Usually you see a bunch of top prospects or guys who just called up, who go crazy. They're really good players.
Hmm.
We didn't really see that. We've seen a lot more the 10s and the 11s and the 9 prospects and the lower end guy or lower middle of the farm system guys. Player to be named later for relatively good players. So I think the value on a lot of guys was down. I think maybe because the shortened season last year, you can't really rely on their stats. You don't know what they're going to hold up to. CBA coming up.
Yeah.
So I think it was a lot of that, and also teams being more understanding on, hey, we can't just trade all our prospects away for this year, because then if it doesn't work out this year, we're in some trouble.
Right.
So I think teams are kind of learning that side of things too. So it was a good deadline. I just think you didn't really see the big prospects flying around either. Just people blowing up their farm systems for this season. Dodgers are probably the closest, and their farm system's still relatively good, and they know that they have to start winning because they have some aging superstars from Turner, Kershaw, Barrett paying money for. He's not around. So they're kind of paying for. They got to kind of. It's now. Seager's contract's coming up. Bellinger going to pay. Mookie Betts already paid. Will Smith's going to get paid soon. So it's kind of now. So they made with them. But other than that, there wasn't many prospects flying around.
No, there definitely wasn't. You've seen it in the past with some number 1, 2, 3 prospects moving.
Pirates. But... they just ruined the whole franchise for 10 years. Austin Meadows, Tyler Glass now. It's just stupidity.
I know.
At its finest for Chris Archer. For a team that was more like the Mariners are right now. Like, we're kind of in it, but we kind of know if we're not going to,
we're not going to do
we're
much.
not going anywhere.
Right.
Pirates did that, and they got rid of Austin Meadows and Tyler Glass now for a team to not make the playoffs, and a guy who was worse than anyone else you could have pitched.
Yep.
Ruined a franchise for 10 years.
Yeah,
we didn't see quite those.
No, I don't think we did. No, but time will tell. Sometimes trades don't age well, as time goes on. But let's move on to what do you say we move on to the hot and cold players of the week?
Sure.
From here. So as I usually do, we're gonna start with the hot players. My top 5 hot players. As I usually do, I have my the 2 players of the week as 1 and 2. Number 1 hot player is the NL Player of the Week, Joey Votto. Batted .381 over the last week with a 1238 slugging and a 1696 OPS. It is important to note that he hit a home run in 7 straight games. Just absolutely red hot. Just killed it last week. Definitely deserved the Player of the Week. Number 2, George Springer was the AL Player of the Week. Batted .409 with a 1,000 slugging and a 1,500 OPS. Again, just mashing the ball. You see what he can do when he's healthy. Obviously has had a lot of injury problems in the past, and not just with the Blue Jays. So you see what kind of production he can give to that lineup. Number 3, Yuli Gurriel, batted .522 over the last week with an 870 slugging and a 1411 OPS. A guy that's really been raking all year, a guy that's been really important to that Astros offense, just continues to mash. Number 4, Rafael Ortega, 478 average with a 1087 slugging and a 1607 OPS over the last week. Maybe could be really helpful here to Seattle with maybe a little bit of a push just to make some sort of wild card or something. But, hitting really good over the last week, all things considered. Number 5, the last guy I have here is Kyle Farmer for the Reds. 464 average over the last week, a 750 slugging, and a 1233 OPS over the last week. Those are my hot guys.
Yeah, those guys, obviously, the stats are through the roof. Some other guys I got to throw out there, Miguel Cabrera, playing really well right now. Over the last month or so, he's been playing really well. Chasing 500 home runs right there on the brink. Bryce Harper had a great year. He's batting over 300 this year. He's had a great year. He's been red hot recent. Ramil Tapia, a guy who no one really talks about out there in Colorado. Plays good defense, hits for a high average, steals bases. A guy that I think maybe the Rockies could have traded away because he has some control. Would have got quite some value back. Jorge Polanco playing well after his struggles in April. He's up to I think 270 on the year, and he's been batting over 400 over the last 7 days. And Cesar Hernandez playing well, leading up to the trade and after the trade, playing pretty well. So those are some guys to take a look at hitter wise. Some pitchers to take a look at. Cal Quantrill pitching well. Brett Anderson for the Brewers had a good start.
Okay.
Julio Urias has been pitching great all year, pitching really good over the last 7 to 10 days. Jordan Montgomery for the Yankees pitching well, no run support but pitching well. And Waldis Chapman back on his more dominant ways. 4 saves over his last 7 days.
Yeah.
And no runs.
Yeah, so all those guys definitely pitching well. I think Julio Urias, I think he has like 13 wins this year or something like that. Some good amount, a little bit higher. I don't know if he's a league leader or anything, but that happened to. When I saw it on the screen, I was like, wow, was like, that guy's doing good. So moving on to the cold players I have on my list. Number 1, Max Kepler, batting .050 over the last week with a 200 slugging and a .295 OPS. Number 2, JD Martinez, a .080 average over the last week with a .080 slugging and a 160 OPS. Number 3, Jose Iglesias, a .091 average over last week with a .091 slugging and a 221 OPS. Number 4, Austin Hayes, an .095 average over the last week, a 286 slugging and a 422 OPS. And finally, Carlos Santana, an .095 average over last week, an .095 slugging, and a 304 OPS over last week. So some big names there, especially JD Martinez.
Yeah, definitely some big names struggling. Some other guys, I got Jose Abreu, struggling a bit, hit by pitch quite a bit over the weekend, hit in the head, caused a bench clearing skirmish. Tony La Russa come running out of the dugout with a bad knee and getting in the catcher's face, trying to tell him, like, hey, you got to stop hitting my guys, and hitting this guy especially because you hit him all the time. So that's something to take a look at. Tommy Pham struggling of late, and Michael Conforto have been terrible all year, going into a free agency after the year. And if you're a Mets fan, you remember can't sign George Springer because Conforto. We want to keep Conforto next year. He's been terrible, not hitting home runs, average is down. He's just not been playing good, and of late he's not playing good. So definitely, if you're the Mets and you're trying to contend, you need your guys to hit. So that's a hard one for them, especially when we get to a little later on why that's going to be so important. Conforto gets hitting because there's some troubling news for the Mets. So you wouldn't be surprised. Some pitchers that aren't pitching well. Lance McCullers has been struggling of late. Yu Darvish, second week in a row on the cold list, has been struggling of late.
Yeah.
Albert Alzolay for the Cubs. I'm not sure exactly how to say his name. Younger guy. This I think twice out of the last 3 weeks or 4 weeks that he's been on the cold list.
Oh wow.
Good potential, but been struggling of late. Diego Castillo went over to the Mariners and blew a save. Kind of getting booed off the field over there.
Yep.
And Garrett Cole got beat up pretty well against Tampa Bay last week. So that's a struggle for him because he got 6-7 runs.
Yeah, a big amount.
That's
yeah.
the most he's given up in like 4 years. So something to take note of. To get to the next part, usually see injuries. Actually, for the most part, it was a small injury week on the bad side of things, and on a better injury week on the good side of injuries. So to get into it, Domingo Germán placed on the IL with a shoulder issue. Michael Brantley day to day. Obviously one of the best hitters in baseball. Guillermo for the Mets placed on the IL. They got Baez, but with Lindor and now Guillermo.
Yeah. Your
shortstops or your infield kind of lacking here. One reason why Conforto and the other Mets need to pick him out, but another big reason coming. McCutchen going for MRI. Hoskins was day to day. Tatis for the 58th time hurt his shoulder. It's really going to come down. He's going to have to get surgery at some point. They're delaying the obvious here. For some sort of good reason, they want to contend. They want to win a World Series. You're going to need Tatis. So they're trying to be like, if you could go through it, let's get through it. But you're going to keep hurting your shoulder on moving around, banging off the ground. The idea of your shoulders rotating and popping out of socket, it happens.
Yeah.
I think almost everyone's probably felt some sort of pop out of socket with your shoulder or your arm or maybe your finger or something like that. It pops in, but it still hurts. And the idea that if it hits a nerve, you could really cause some other serious damage.
Right.
So that's the big issue. We have Tyler Glass now deciding to get Tommy John. That's really bad news because he could have got 2 months ago and possibly been back for the end of next year. Now he's going to miss, almost guarantee he won't pitch again until 2023.
Yeah.
One of the best pitchers in all baseball. I think had the Cy Young this year.
Probably, yeah.
Had the Cy Young in the American League. And not for nothing, I think the Rays won, every time he pitched other than once?
That's what it felt like, yeah.
And he's just dominant. He's a guy who's just going to outdo you.
Yeah.
Every single time.
Oh, yeah.
Every single time. So that was a tough one there. And then you get into... you also had Rogers for the Twins. Relief pitcher hurt his finger.
Oh, right.
Right before the deadline. Right. I think they could have possibly traded him, but getting hurt right before the deadline with a finger issue for a pitcher, obviously it kind of hurt his value there.
Definitely.
But on the good news, you have Chris Sale. 81 pitches he threw on Saturday. He topped at 96 miles per hour. He's pitching great. I think he threw 81 pitches, 65 strikes. I think he's at 25 strikeouts to 2 walks. In his rehab so far. He's going to have one more rehab assignment, and then he'll be back, which means he'll be pitching. I would say by the time he comes back, he'll be full go, over 100 pitches he could throw, and throwing good. And his control has actually been back. So I think that's why they took so long They waited so long to make sure he can come back, and so his control's there, and it has worked out. Obviously, it's a long waiting process, like 18 months at this point, but it's working.
Yeah.
Schwarber expected to go on a rehab assignment in the near future here for the Red Sox. The Yankees getting healthy, and the idea that that COVID guy's coming back.
Yep.
Judge came back, Kyle Yoshi came back, Gio Urshela came back, Gio's now day-to-day, and LeMahieu was day-to-day, but he's back as well. But on the most part, they're getting healthy off the COVID side. Some guys back off of that because that can linger and cause issues for everybody else, obviously.
Sure.
Shane Bieber playing catch. Hopefully come back soon, maybe end of August to September.
Okay.
Arias for the Twins is back, a good base hit guy. Colin Moran expected to be back here soon, next couple days. Luke Voigt expected to come back for the Yankees the next couple days. Castellanos is progressing, feeling pretty good. Ketel Marte activated, great. As a great player. He's just an unbelievable player. Great to see him back. Hopefully he can just be back.
Yeah.
Mookie Betts activated. He's back. Kershaw throwing. He's supposed to be back at the end of August here or the next couple weeks. And we have, this is why I was talking about with Conforto. DeGrom shut down again.
Oh, yeah.
He will not be back until at least September. And the problem with it is it's the elbow inflammation again in the arm after throwing a bullpen session, after trying to extend himself to make sure he can go full go. His last couple pitches last little bit of the bullpen session, he topped out at 98, which is, don't get me wrong, it's very fast for a guy who's throwing more of 100. But he was trying to, hey, this is game now, let me throw it. And he still has elbow inflammation. He's a guy who had Tommy John 11 years ago, and something that I actually learned not long ago. Tommy John's really expected length is 7 to 8 years. Where you can really guarantee, hey, you're going to be good for there. After that, you go 9, you're like, yeah, you should be good. 10, after that, you're like, all right, you got a shot, maybe just not working anymore. Elbow inflammation, again, in the arm. Forearm tightness, in the arm. Tommy John 11 years ago.
Yeah.
The guy throwing 102 miles per hour all the time. And what is he, 31 years old?
About that, yeah.
Not good news
No.
for the Mets. So that's a big reason why you need Conforto to pick himself up and guys to pick themselves up.
Right.
Because there's a good chance, I think there's a good chance you don't see DeGrom again this year.
Oh,
if
yeah.
you do, there's a good chance you won't see him again for a while. I think he's got a shot at really arm going out at this point. Because it's Tommy John. He never threw that hard before Tommy John. And he never threw that hard right after Tommy John. And his arms was obviously, now he's getting more stronger and stronger and stronger. And now he's having elbow issues. Now he's having shoulder issues. Now he's having back issues. He had 1,000 issues this year.
Yeah.
There's obviously a reason for it. You're not supposed to throw that hard.
Yeah.
Your body's only allowed to throw. You're not supposed to throw that hard at all. Your body doesn't really let you throw that ball hard.
Yeah.
That's why no one can throw the ball harder than 104. I think it's physically impossible for someone to throw that hard.
Yeah. The overhand throw especially is unnatural.
So the idea of averaging 100 miles per hour and then throwing 90, 100 pitches a game doing it, especially his body type for a skinny guy, it's just not it's not sustainable.
Yep.
So we're really going to see, this could really be an issue for the Mets, not just this year, but possibly next year, maybe even the year after, because if something catastrophic happens to DeGrom, Mets fans, you guys would know more than anybody. But that's it. That's it. You got no shot winning anywhere else.
Yeah.
There's no shot going deep anywhere if you don't got that guy.
Yeah, especially a year where you don't have Syndergaard either. It's not like you have your other guy. So it makes it really, really tough on you.
Yeah.
So that would stink.
Yeah, so that's the main reason why I think Conforto really needs to pick himself up here, because you're obviously going to need some big offense and some big players to step up if that guy's going to be gone.
Agreed.
So there's your
Absolutely.
injury news. I mean, for the most part, it was on the relatively better side. But, obviously, injuries for the most part the last couple of weeks have been on the better side. Other than the Acuna and DeGrom, I mean, we're talking relatively good news.
Yeah,
the most part.
definitely.
So the last little bit here, wanted to go into some recent news. We had the Indians, Cleveland Indians changing their name to the Cleveland Guardians. So I wanted to go a trivia question somewhat revolving that. And the trivia question is, what was the last team in MLB history to change their name? Now, this doesn't have to be, their nickname, which is technically your team name. So Indians to Guardians, it doesn't mean that. It could be a city change. It could be the way you set up your team. It's all a bunch of different things. But the trivia question is, what was the last team to change their name in MLB history? And the answer is the last team was in 2016, the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim changed their name back to the Los Angeles Angels.
Yeah, I didn't even think of it.
That was the last team to change their name, and the team previous to that was the Florida Marlins to the Miami Marlins. And you've had other ones, the Devil Rays changed to the Rays, Expos back to the Nationals. That was more of a relocation, so I'm not quite sure how that really fits into this.
Right.
But yeah, the last team to change their name was the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. In 2016, changed their name back to the Los Angeles Angels.
Yeah, I didn't even think of them because I don't know why Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim always felt like like an extension of it to me. Like it didn't feel like that was their official name.
Well,
Like
the owner always wanted to broad.
Yeah,
that was the thing. They wanted to be broad. That's why they were the California Angels. They wanted to get the fans in because they had LA Dodgers out there. So they wanted to get the fans, and they played also in Anaheim. So hey, let's also give Anaheim their credit. Maybe steal some fans.
Right.
So it was that idea. I always thought that the name was funny and it was weird that they had that. So I always made sure I called them the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim because I just didn't get it.
Yeah.
So
seems so official.
Yeah. So I just didn't get why they did that. But 2016 they went back to the Los Angeles Angels, and that was the last team change their name.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't. I thought of more like a literal name change, like the Devil Rays to the Rays. And then I just completely forgot about the Florida Marlins just because, I don't know, I feel like I don't think about them that much.
No one does.
So it's a good trivia question. I don't know. I don't know how many people get that because I forgot that even happened. So
yeah, and it's funny because names used to change just flying around in the 1800s and the 1900s. There was teams, you were the Bluebirds, and then they changed to the Blue Sox, and teams are Highlanders one year, the next team to this, next team to this. You had the Naps, you had the Spiders, you had all in like 4 years.
Yeah.
Teams used to change almost like the minor leagues now.
Yeah.
Teams change every couple of years. They get different uniforms and they're changing around for fun. But that's how like the MLB was. But for any sport though, you're locked in from like 40s.
Yeah, you
50s,
pretty much got more or
30s,
less. Yeah.
Somewhere in the 30s and 50s from that range, you found your team and you were just locked in.
Yeah, he really started building a franchise at that point.
Unless you relocated.
Right, which, has obviously happened, especially in other sports.
Yeah, and even then you kind of keep your name.
Yeah.
As we see in football.
Yeah.
Baltimore Ravens, they were Indianapolis Ravens.
Yeah.
Or, Baltimore Colts, and they went to the Indianapolis but kept the Colts. So it's the idea of really kind of keeping your name, just kind of changing the city.
Right.
The whole team name changing. You don't see that much anymore.
No. So yeah, he definitely got a unique situation with the Indians. And then, the Washington football team's got the same idea, same thing on their head
They
to
just
change
don't
it
know what
to.
they're doing.
Yeah, it's taken them this long. The Indians were like lickety split with it. They changed it quick.
They took 4 letters and changed them, and they're like, that's just fine.
Yeah, this is what we are now.
Yeah, so.
That's kind of all I got for this episode, though. Obviously, big trade deadline went over. We'll go back to kind of a more normal episode next week without all the hoopla of that news. But that's kind of all I got, for this episode. I don't know what you want to finish up with.
No, that's it. It's one of our longer episodes we've had in a while, which is expected, because this is the forefront of the playoff race.
Yep.
And this is what teams are going to look like. There's no waiver deadline. This is it. This is your team. Well, someone actually gets released and does for assignment, and you sign them, or free agent or something like that. That's a little bit different. But the idea of trading again and doing the waiver trade deadline, which has always been a mess, because you never know who team claims them. It's always a secret team, a hidden team. It's nonsense.
Yeah.
Always a big money dump too. Those players.
Oh,
So
yeah,
it's good to just have a
100%.
deadline and be like, this is it. Now this is your team. So good luck.
Yeah.
So I think that's what made teams also jump in and jump out. We're
Yeah.
buyers, we're sellers.
Right.
There's no like, well, we can kind of grade around for a couple more weeks. It's like, nope, it's right now.
Yeah. What
Do or
are
die.
we doing?
Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was an exciting week or so, and playoff races are tightening up with teams getting better, and it is do or die. It's the dog days of summer. It's time to go, and teams are going.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the only last thing I got here is I forgot to mention it last week, but last week was co-host Frank White, former Kansas City Royal. I don't know if you knew that. Former Kansas City Royal Frank White was his birthday last week. Forgot to mention on last week's episode. Yeah, last Thursday, and we went out this weekend for his birthday and got all smashed up nice. So I want to wish Frank a happy belated birthday for the podcast, and everyone out there listening. Wish him a happy birthday on whatever social media, and so hope you had a good birthday, Frank, and everyone, like I said, go wish him a happy birthday when you get a chance.
Yeah, it's a good time. It was a good time. We went out.
It was something.
And yeah, I had a good time. Thank you for that. And young Billy over here will be turn like 62, I think, in a couple weeks.
Mentally, I'm 62, I think.
Physically, too, maybe.
Yeah, physically, I feel it. Sure.
Yeah, you look like you're 62.
Okay.
Falling apart.
Yeah.
You know how it is.
Hairline's all the way back there. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, pants all the way up. Suspenders on. You know how it goes.
Yeah.
So.
But other than that, that's all I got for this week. So you want to wrap this up and get out of here?
Yeah, that's it. Let's get it together.
All right. Well, thank you guys for listening. You can catch this podcast on Google Podcasts as well as Apple Podcasts and Spotify. You can listen on our regularly updated YouTube channel as well as our website, screwball.podbean.com. You can follow me on Twitter at RealMikeLepre. You can follow me on Instagram at Mike Lepre.
And you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at FW10.
You can follow our official Screwball Twitter at ScrewballPod. You can follow our official Screwball Facebook at ScrewballPod. No E and Screw. And that's it from us, guys. We'll see you next week.
Yep, take care.